Hello everyone. Today we'll be going over how to make wings in SolidWorks via boss-based extrude and boss-based loft. So it's not going to be too difficult. First thing we're going to do is we're going to head on over to our browser, uh, where we can grab an airfoil. We're using airfoiltools.com. You can also use the UIUC database or whatever you are really interested in. Today I'm going to go with an SD8040. It's the airfoil we're using for our current plane in our design build fly team. So we've got our airfoil. We're going to go to CLig format dat file, and we're just going to copy all of these coordinates. Just Control C. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to open up Excel. And once we're in Excel, we can make a new workbook, just blank, whatever. Going to paste this in here. Make sure everything is still selected because you're going to see it's all pasted into one cell. And now what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to data. We are going to click on text to columns. We're going to keep this delimited. We're going to go next. For this, it's space. If your coordinates are spaced some other way, if it's by commas or tabs or whatever, just choose that. But you should see this transition into different columns. So we're going to hit next, finish. You're going to see all these are in their right columns. We can just move the 1 and the 0 over, delete this column right here. And then the last thing is because our SolidWorks works on a three axis system, we got 3 coordinates, so we got to add that in. We don't need this to protrude anywhere, so we're just going to stick in, this is in the Z direction, we are just going to stick in the zeros. So you can either drag these out through the corner, or what you can also do is you can just Control C copy and then come all the way down here, Control Shift V, that'll fill it in. Either one of those works, they both do the same thing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go File, Save As. We are going to go to Browse, and then you're going to choose wherever you want this to go. So for me, I'm just going to stick it in my downloads. I'm just going to name it SD8040. And we want to make sure this isn't an XLSX. Instead, we are going to make this text tab delimited. That tab delimited part is really important, but it is going to have the .txt file extension. So we're going to hit save. Make sure you know where that is. That's very important. Then we're gonna make sure we close the Excel book because the next part won't work if we have that open. So now we're going to come on over to SolidWorks, brand new part, and what we're going to do is we are going to come up here, features, curves, curve through XYZ points. We're going to browse, and we're going to find that file. So for me, that is in my downloads. Make sure you choose text files instead of solid curve. So I've got sd8040.txt. I'm going to open that up, and you'll know it's working right when you see this yellow rendering of whatever airfoil you've got. So once you've got that, we can hit this check mark, and we are good to go. So if you hover over the base planes that we've got here, you're going to want to find whichever one is coplanar or just parallel to your airfoil. For me, it's the front plane. It typically will be your front plane, but obviously if you do something a little different, that can change. So sketch, we're going to sketch on that front plane, and we're going to select the airfoil. You'll know that you've selected it when the curve up here lights up. And then we're going to come here to convert entities, and you'll know that that worked when this turns black, it's shaded. Now just to make sure that we're not getting messed up, we're going to come over here to the curve, and we're going to right click it, hit the I button to hide it, and we should be good to go. So next step, we're going to take this little green marker, we're going to delete it. That's going to allow us to mess with this. So you're going to want to move it away from the origin just so you're not accidentally messing with the origin. Some airfoils you'll see at the trailing edge here actually separate, they have a gap. Really easy to figure that out if this isn't shaded in, if it's just clear. You can just attach a line there or attach some sort of spline or other curve if you want. It really doesn't matter. Typically, that area is so small that it's not too important, but that's really up to you. So here's what we're going to do is we are going to make center lines. You can come up here to the line, come on the arrow, and then choose center line. Or you can do what I've done and just bind a key to it. I recommend it if you're using SolidWorks a lot. Very good to have. But we're going to go from this point. We're going to select this point at the trailing edge and then choose a random spot on the leading edge. It's very important that we don't define this as horizontal. You can see that yellow horizontal line. We don't want that. We just want this to be coincident with the airfoil. So none of this on the line stuff. So just here, and then we're going to drag out another one. Same thing. Don't put it on the lines. Just out in the general direction. If you do have a little green symbol over here that shows it's horizontal, just click it, delete it. Next step, we are going to take this line right here. We are going to control left click the airfoil. We're going to choose for this to be tangent to the airfoil. Then we're going to choose this one again, control left click, our chord line. These are going to be perpendicular to each other. And then this one's not a necessity, but I tend to do this just for simplicity's sake, making sure I know exactly where everything is in relation, but I like to make this horizontal. So you can choose the horizontal thing over here. If you're doing some sort of washout or other angle of incidence, obviously you're not going to make that horizontal. But at least for your root, or not necessarily your root, whatever is going to be horizontal, you're going to want to make horizontal, or at least fix to some other line. And then the last step here is we're just going to click on this dot on the leading edge right here, and then we're going to control left click the origin, and we're going to choose coincident. That way we have these defined, and I lied. We're not actually going to make this, that's not the last step. We have one last, and that's to define our chord length. So this is our root chord right here. If you have an untapered wing, your root chord is going to be the same as your chord all across the wing. If it is tapered, obviously it's going to be a little different. So we're assuming we've got a tapered wing right now. Our root chord is going to be 10 inches. So I'm just going to choose that chord line, input 10 inches, and you know you're good to go. This all turns black. We've got the fully defined symbol down here, and we can just exit the sketch. Now, if you're doing an untapered wing, this is about as far as you have to go. You can just extrude it, and if I want my wing to be 49.5 inches, I believe is what I have in mind, that's all that has to be done. So that's nice and easy. That being said, if you are tapering your wing, or if you want to do it as a surface or whatever, it's going to be a little more complex, but honestly not too bad. So we've got this. This is our root. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to choose whatever plane we were just working against. For me, that was the front plane. Then we're going to go to reference geometry. We're going to choose plane. We want this new plane to be parallel to the old plane, hence why we chose it. And then we just want to determine the distance. So if you're tapering, you're probably going to want to do the semi-span. For me, again, my span is 49.5 inches, so just dividing that by 2, I get my semi-span. And fully defined, going to check, great. So we're going to go on this plane. We're going to start a new sketch. First thing you're going to do, hide the plane, right click, hit the eye, hidden, just so that you don't have to worry about accidentally selecting it instead of whatever you want to select. Next thing, it's just the same as what we just did. Instead of selecting the curve, we're just going to select our other sketch. So highlighted, convert entities, boom, delete the green, drag this somewhere where we're not messing with the other, and then it's the same thing. So it's almost like review. It's kind of nice. So we're going to make our chord line, our little thing popping out, making sure that it's not defined by 45 degrees or horizontal or whatever. Our little extension out of the airfoil is going to be tangent, and it's okay if it pops down to the bottom like this, because it's a tangent line, it really just doesn't matter. And then again, we want our little extension to be perpendicular to our chord. And this is just because if these two are perpendicular, the only place where this line can be tangent to the airfoil is at the very tip, which is the leading edge. And so definition of our chord line is from the leading edge to the trailing edge. We've got it already defined on the trailing edge because it converges on that single point, which we can select. The leading edge does not have that single point, so by making a line tangent to this and then perpendicular to our chord, we know that we have the right line. And now we're going to define our chord length. For me, this is going to be 6.5. I've got a taper ratio of 0.65. Going into how to determine taper ratio will be something else, not relevant to this video, just, assuming you already know how to do that. And then, yeah, so if you want to add dihedral, we change a little, obviously you're going to have to add a distance, and that can just be done by a little bit of geometry. What do you want that angle to be? What's your semi-span, etc. We're assuming that we're having a straight or a flat wing, no dihedral. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose our chord line, and then we're going to choose the chord line of the root, and we're going to make them collinear. And then the last thing is you have to decide where you want this. If you want the two leading edges or the two trailing edges to align, that's really easy. You either just have to make these two lines collinear or these 2 points right here coincident. But we're going to do something a little different. So what I want to do is I want my quarter chords to align on these two. And so there's two ways of doing that. There's either just mathematically setting the distance between these two and figuring out what that is, or we can actually draw the quarter chords. So I'll do that just because that can help if you don't want to do the math. But yeah, I'm going to draw a vertical line. Make sure this is vertical. Vertical line on my tip airfoil, and then another one of these construction lines on my root, and then I'm just going to set their distances. So setting from that perpendicular little part coming off the top, or not the top, out the outside of the airfoil, I want this to be a quarter of the chord, obviously. So my root chord is 10 inches. We're going to divide that by 4. And then for my tip, same thing. It is 6.5 inches, so 6.5 divided by 4. And then, it looks like I didn't quite get these. Oh, I lied. No, I did get it. I got a little confused there. Ignore that. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to make these two lines collinear. And there we go. And you'll see now this is black, fully defined. We've got what we wanted, and we're all good to go. So we're nearly there. The way that we're going to do this is we're going to do a loft. But if we try a loft right now, what you're going to see is that our leading edge and our trailing edge kind of warp a bit. They look a little funny. So in order to not do that, we've got to make some guidelines. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to do that on the plane that is perpendicular to the plane that we've been drawing on. So we're drawing on the front plane and then something that is parallel to that. So for me, that is the top plane. If this should align with your chord. So if it doesn't align with your chord, that's why I made it horizontal. It makes it easier. But if it doesn't, you can create another plane just by, if you select your two chord lines, I believe. Yeah, so if you select your two chord lines, that'll make a surface. Let's just roll with this one just for the sake of the video, but select the two chord lines, control shift or control left click both of them, reference geometry plane. And then what we're going to do is we are going to start a sketch on this plane. We are going to choose just a normal line, and we're going to go from leading edge to leading edge, and then from trailing edge to trailing edge. And so you're going to see these lines are blue, and that's because they're not actually attached. So we're going to control left click onto that trailing edge. We want to pierce. Because this is in 3D, this is no longer in 2D. They can't just be coincident. If we want them to be exactly on those lines, we need them to be pierced. So just going through all of those until all the lines are black, fully defined, and then we're good. We can just exit the sketch, hide the plane, and so now we've got our guidelines. And so the last step is our loft. So we can either do it as a surface or as a boss base extrude. So I'm going to go with the Lofted Boss base just because this creates a solid instead of a surface. which then allows us to cut or extrude on the wing. So I'm going to choose Lofted Boss Base. And if you do the surface, it's the same exact procedure, same exact UI. It's just going to result in a surface instead of a solid. So first we want to choose our profiles, and that's going to be our airfoils. So we choose the profiles here, and then the next thing is we're going to choose our guide curves, and that is just these two lines right here. So we're going to select those, and we're going to check, and then we're just going to do the same thing to the other line. Select it, hit this check. This is just how it's processing these open ones, these open loops. So yeah, you should see these are in pink, these are in blue. You should see the yellow rendering of your wing, and then you're just going to hit the check mark up here, and you should have a fully formed wing. And now, you know, if I want to make this on the other side, I don't have to go through the whole thing. I can just mirror it. But now you have a wing. And the nice thing about making it a surface is if I want, or sorry, a solid, is if I want to maybe add a spar, I can sketch, put this on my quarter cord. This is just a super rough sketch, but it's mostly just to demonstrate. But then I can do an extruded cut into here for, say, there we go. So now we've got a hole for our spar that goes all the way through, or not all the way through, but close to all the way through, etc. And then, of course, if you want to do a surface, that is always a great thing. This is just, especially for 3D printing and stuff, this is a lot simpler. But there you go. And that is how to make a wing, either through Boss Base Extrude or a Lofted Boss Base. Really simple, really easy. Probably the most difficult part is the Excel at the beginning, just remembering all the steps. And yeah, that's about it. So that is how to make a wing in SolidWorks.